little bit of an update on my handspun yarn that I'm working into a beanie. I am halfway through and it's looking stunning. The color combination, obviously I love. I decided to use a double crochet for this just because there's a lot of spots that are really thick and then there's some that are super, super thin. I'm just getting into this whole spinning yarn thing. I'm working with myself. This is the entire thing that I spun up. So one braid equaled this. It is gonna be a little bit bigger than I was wanting it to be, but I've tried it on a couple of times and it fits. It's just not super tight, which honestly, that's fine. I don't want it to be crazy tight. I'm just very impressed and super happy with how this is turning out. Feels amazing. I cannot wait to wear this. And this is, again, going to be gifted. So this isn't even mine. This is the one that I'm making for my mom. So I need to spin up one more braid in order to finish this. That it might end up being more than I need, but I have 2 braids in total. Don't think I'm going to get around to that today because I have this new hank of yarn that I have been dying to get my hands on. This is from Get Bentz Farm. They have just been flaunting this on their socials. They're like, we have this gorgeous red yarn. It's coming out eventually. You'll know. Like when it hits, you'll know. And so I have just been stalking their socials like, when is this coming out? I have had so much of their roving that I've practiced with spinning. They make these giant bats and I got one that looked like cotton candy, the one that looked like killer clowns. I know that I love the roving, but I've never got my hands on any of their actual spun yarn, their milled yarn right in house. Well, yesterday I got a hank of yarn. Literally no words for how freaking beautiful this is. So yeah, that's why this is going on the sideline. I mean, it's great. It's wonderful. I love it. I want to play with this. Today, this is what we're doing. I want to see it caked up. So on my way home last night, as I had this in the seat next to me, just staring at me, I'm like, okay, what am I going to work this up into? Obviously, I could do a beanie. It's one hank. That would be perfect. But I mean, that's pretty close to my hair color. So I think we're going to do something different. I thought I could do a cowl, but I've been doing a lot of those lately. So fingerless mitts, that's what I'm going to work this up into. I don't have that many. I think right now I have 3 pairs that I'm cycling through because that's another thing that I make and I gift often because I love them. So I know other people are going to love them. I made a ton of them in November and December and kept literally none for myself. I think all 3 of them that I have are ones that I've made in previous years, just like my go-to pair. Nothing wrong with that, but we're getting into that season where it's really, really cold one day and then it's super slushy the next day. So I like to have enough pairs of mittens that I can cycle through and let the ones that are wet dry. Like I don't want to put, oh gosh, the idea of putting on wet mittens. Literally no thank you. I'm thinking I want to use the spider stitch. It's just one of those that can showcase yarn really beautifully, and it's a very repetitive stitch too. 4 to 5 millimeter crochet hook is what I'm thinking right now, just judging on the thickness of this yarn. I think either would work perfect. 4 might be a little bit better because I can get the stitches a little closer. I am just in love with this. Then I also need to cake up another one of these for the mood snood. I am completely out of that. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I weighed the 2 half hanks. I thought they were half hanks anyways. Weighed those before I started my second mood snood and I was like, oh yeah, I'm totally gonna be fine. No, I'm not even close. We still have a couple days left in this mood snood crochet along and I'm done. Like my purple pop music is totally gone. And this one is a lot different than the other ones that I had. There's a little bit more of the light purple. So it's going to be super interesting to see how the gradient works out now. Just going to be a fantastic day. I love caking up yarn. It's so fun. It's so different once it's allowed to breathe. Possibly one of my favorite hanks of yarn that I have ever owned. This is just amazing. The intensity is just so much more. I mean, the entire process. We have it in a hank. We have it all laid out like this, spin it up, cake it up, and then work it up. This is one of those projects that I just enjoy the entire process. 2 rows of the spider stitch all started. So we have this bit of texture here, and then as I keep building it, the stitches line up on top of each other and then go to either side, so they kind of sprawl out. It makes for a really interesting piece without it being something that's crazy difficult to do. I can sit down and do this, watch a movie, listen to an audiobook. All I need to do is repeat this row over and over, and you know I love those type of projects. So this gets folded over. My fingers are going to go in like this. I am going to put a little ribbing on the bottom here, but we're just getting started. And of course I have to match my hook to the project. I mean, obviously it kind of goes without saying now. This one is something like 400 yards, so it's gonna take a hot second to cake all the way up. The horror movie that I chose to watch tonight for our Mood Snood Crochet Along is Longlegs. The cover is almost exactly this red, so I am going to save this for watching Longlegs tonight, and I'm just going to start working on my Mood Snood right now. There's also The Mayfair Witches on AMC. Season 2 is out, and they're doing one every single Sunday, I think. So there's maybe 3 or 4 episodes out right now. I freaking love that. The first season, I ate that whole thing up. I was so ready for season 2. The first episode did not disappoint. Like, we have the same setting, the same colors, the same palette, like all of the feelings with it. So freaking good. It's going to be one of those that as soon as it rolls over midnight on October 1st, Mayfair Witches season 1, season 2, I'm just going to start rolling through that as I'm decorating things around my yarn dungeon. Longlegs, obviously, I thought it was a fantastic movie because it's on my top 13 of 2024 release. I feel like I saw so much advertising for it without actually seeing anything that was happening in the movie. So they did a really good job with the trailers of not over explaining and not oversharing what this movie was going to be. I basically went into this, which I waited until it was streaming on demand, pretty much knew nothing. The one advertising that I did see said it's the scariest horror movie that you'll see of 2024. Horror is totally subjective. Things that I find terrifying, you might not think is terrifying at all. For me, it's the ocean. Any sort of horror movie based in the ocean, or even an open body of water where I can't really see the land so well, that's terrifying. Like, setup right there, I'm in. This is gonna be scary. I'm gonna love every second of this. And you might be thinking, you know what? I love the ocean. I'm in and out of it all the time. That's like my vacation mode right there. So horror is totally subjective. Just think it's a little bit unfortunate that they said that. I get why they did, right? We got a lot of people that wouldn't normally go to horror movies. They were going to the theaters seeing this. So they did a great job with that. But in some ways, it did set you up to have a certain expectation for it. Now, I think it was a beautiful horror movie. The color palette that they chose, every frame that was set up, you could see that there was a lot of thought process that they put into everything. It wasn't just a super quick run through slasher movie, even though I totally love those too. Like, this was definitely one of those movies. After I watched it, I was thinking about it, and it was weeks, months later, I was thinking about this. Like, I wanted to rewatch it again, see certain scenes, pick up on stuff that I didn't the first time or through. Even though it was a little bit of a slow burn horror movie, the second time I watched it, I felt the same way the first time I watched it, and so that's a really good horror movie to me. Nicolas Cage was super unhinged in this. There was just a lot of moving parts. Personally, I think you need to watch it a couple of times. It's one of those movies where it gets scarier the more you watch it and the more you think about it, the more pieces that you pick up. Basically, I'm a big fan of it. Highly, highly suggest it. If you haven't seen it yet and you don't have anything planned for a movie tonight with your mood snood, toss that in, work up your mood snood, and totally make some Wake the Dead tea. The fact that it's a crimson red tea, it's gonna go perfect with the setting of long legs. I'm gonna keep working this up as well as my fingerless mitts. Hopefully I have a little bit more to show you tomorrow. I mean, I have the whole entire movie to work this up. We'll see how fast I get going on this. For right now, have a super spooky rest of your night, and I will see you in my next video.